The key turned in the lock like it always did, but something felt different. Maybe it was the silence where Jennifer's voice should have been calling out, "Welcome home." Or maybe it was the way the house smelled, not like her vanilla candles, but like someone else's cologne. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Landon Hale, 39 years old, former Army intelligence sergeant turned private security consultant. I'd just spent 3 months in Eastern Europe babysitting corporate executives who thought danger meant bad Wi-Fi. Coming home should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like walking into an ambush. "Jen?" I called out, dropping my duffel bag by the door. No answer. The living room looked the same, but her laptop was closed on the coffee table next to a phone I didn't recognize. A second phone. My wife of 8 years used to greet me with coffee and stories about her job at Morrison's Pharmacy. Now I got leftover Chinese food and a note stuck to the refrigerator. "Working late again. Don't wait up. Jay." The note was dated yesterday. I'd texted her from the airport 2 hours ago. I opened the fridge and grabbed a beer, my mind already shifting into operational mode. In the Army, we called it situational awareness. In civilian life, most people called it paranoia. But when your wife starts keeping secrets, paranoia becomes survival. The second phone buzzed. A text message lit up the screen. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Owen." Owen Baxter, Jennifer's coworker at the pharmacy. Gym rat with more muscles than brains, always showing up at neighborhood barbecues with his protein shakes and unsolicited fitness advice. I'd tolerated him because Jennifer said he was just a friend. Apparently, friendship had evolved. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Old habits from intelligence work never fade. Within 20 minutes, I had Owen's address, his work schedule, and his social media accounts. The man documented his entire life online like he was running for office. More importantly, I had his location. The phone's GPS showed Jennifer was at his apartment right now. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. Instead, I felt that familiar calm that used to settle over me during reconnaissance missions. The same calm that made me good at my job and apparently terrible at noticing my marriage falling apart. I took photos of the phone, the messages, everything. Then I forwarded the GPS coordinates to a secure folder on my laptop. Evidence, documentation, the foundation of any successful operation. The front door opened around midnight. Jennifer walked in like nothing had happened, keys jingling, humming some song I didn't recognize. "Hey," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "How was your flight?" "Educational," I replied, watching her face. She looked different. Guilty. "How was work?" "Long day. Owen and I had to do inventory." She headed toward the bedroom. "I'm exhausted." "I bet." She paused at the doorway, finally looking at me. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just that inventory can be physically demanding." For a moment, I thought she might confess. Instead, she shrugged and disappeared into the bedroom. 20 minutes later, I heard her shower running. I spent the night on the couch, planning. By morning, I had a strategy that would make my old commanding officer proud. No violence, no illegal activity. Just good old-fashioned intelligence work applied to domestic warfare. Jennifer left early for work, kissing my forehead like a dutiful wife. "See you tonight," she said. "Actually, you won't," I replied, but she was already out the door. I called in sick to work. My boss understood. I'd just returned from overseas and everyone deserved a personal day. If only he knew how personal this was going to get. First stop, Morrison's Pharmacy. I parked across the street and watched through binoculars, feeling ridiculous, but thorough. Jennifer and Owen worked the same shift, standing closer than necessary while counting pills and processing prescriptions. Their body language told the whole story. At lunch, they left together. Not unusual, except they took Owen's car to a motel 6 blocks away and didn't return for 2 hours. I photographed everything: license plates, timestamps, locations, building a case like I was preparing for a court-martial. My phone rang. Travis Mitchell, my old army buddy and current best friend. "How's married life treating you?" he asked. "Like a training exercise gone wrong," I said. "I need a favor." "Shoot." "Can you recommend a divorce attorney? Someone who specializes in asset protection?" Long pause. "Landon, what happened?" "Jennifer's been conducting unauthorized joint operations with her coworker. I need to secure my position before executing a tactical withdrawal." Travis knew me well enough to understand military euphemisms. "How bad?" "Bad enough that I'm planning Operation Cat's Claw." "Cat's Claw?" "You know what they say about cats. They always land on their feet. But they also have very sharp claws." He gave me a name: Rebecca Torres, a divorce attorney with a reputation for protecting military veterans from unfaithful spouses. I made an appointment for the next day. That evening, Jennifer came home with flowers. Guilt flowers, I realized. She cooked dinner and asked about my overseas assignment, playing the perfect wife. I answered her questions while mentally cataloging every lie she told about her day. "Owen mentioned you stopped by the pharmacy," she said casually. I hadn't, but Owen had obviously seen me watching from across the street. "Just wanted to see where my wife spends her time." "That's sweet." She smiled, but her eyes were calculating. "Maybe next time you could come inside. Say hello." "Maybe I will." After dinner, she excused herself to take a phone call. "Work stuff," she explained, but I noticed she took the second phone with her. I used the time to pack. Not everything, just the essentials: clothes, important documents, my laptop, and the evidence I'd been collecting. I loaded everything into my truck and parked it 3 blocks away. When Jennifer went to bed, I sat in the kitchen and wrote a letter. Not an explanation or an apology. Just facts. What I knew, when I'd learned it, and what I planned to do about it. I left the letter on the kitchen table next to her second phone and walked out of my marriage the same way I'd walked out of combat zones, quietly, efficiently, and without looking back. Rebecca Torres had an office that screamed competence: law books, framed degrees, and a coffee mug that read, "World's Okayest Divorce Attorney." She reviewed my evidence with the efficiency of a military briefing. "This is thorough," she said, scrolling through the photographs and documentation. "Almost professionally thorough." I was a professional, different field, same principles. "Your wife's been sloppy. The motel receipts, the text messages, the workplace relationship, it's all admissible. Illinois is a no-fault state, but adultery still matters for asset division." I'd done my homework. Jennifer had contributed nothing to our joint accounts during the marriage. Her pharmacy job barely covered her personal expenses. Meanwhile, I'd been building our savings and paying the mortgage with security consulting fees. "File the papers," I said, "and freeze the joint accounts." "That's aggressive." "So is sleeping with your coworker in motels while your husband's overseas." She smiled. "I like you already." My phone rang as I left the law office. Jennifer, calling from work. "Landon, what the heck is this letter supposed to mean?" "It means I know about Owen. It means I know about the motels. And it means you should probably find somewhere else to stay tonight." Silence. Then, "We need to talk. We needed to talk 3 months ago. Now we need lawyers. Don't do this. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "You're right. It didn't mean anything. That's the problem." I hung up and drove to my new temporary apartment. 1 bedroom, furnished, month-to-month lease. Perfect for a man starting over. Jennifer called 6 more times. I let them all go to voicemail. The next morning, I visited Morrison's pharmacy during the shift change. The manager, Mrs. Patterson, was a by-the-book administrator who'd worked retail for 30 years. She valued professionalism above all else. Mr. Hale, she said, recognizing me from company picnics. How can I help you? I wanted to discuss a workplace situation involving my wife and Owen Baxter. Her expression shifted. What kind of situation? I showed her selected photographs. Nothing explicit, just Jennifer and Owen leaving work together, entering the motel, staying for extended periods during lunch breaks. Company policy prohibits romantic relationships between employees, Mrs. Patterson said carefully. I thought you should know, for liability purposes. She nodded grimly. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I left, knowing that both Jennifer and Owen would be called into HR within hours. Workplace relationships weren't illegal, but they violated company policy. At minimum, one of them would be transferred. At maximum, both would be terminated. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. You bastard, we're going to lose our jobs. I texted back, you already lost your marriage. This is just collateral damage. Owen Baxter was waiting by my truck when I left the gym that evening. 6'2", 200 pounds of muscle and righteous indignation. He looked like he wanted to start something. We need to talk, he said, stepping into my personal space. No, we don't. I kept my voice calm, my posture relaxed. But if you want to make a scene in front of all these witnesses, I'm happy to accommodate. The gym parking lot was busy, people coming and going, cars everywhere. Perfect audience for what I had planned. You ruined everything, Owen said. Jennifer and you what? Had an affair while her husband was overseas? Used company time for personal business? Violated workplace policies? I shook my head. You ruined everything yourselves. I just documented it. He grabbed my shoulder. Big mistake. I'd learned hand-to-hand combat from Army instructors who treated it like science. Leverage, momentum, pressure points. Owen had learned fighting from action movies and protein powder commercials. One quick wrist lock, and he was on his knees in the parking lot, his arm twisted at an uncomfortable angle. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. You're going to apologize to everyone watching this embarrassing display. Then you're going to walk away and never contact my wife again. Are we clear? Clear, he gasped. I released him and stepped back. He climbed to his feet, rubbing his wrist and looking around at the small crowd that had gathered. Sorry for the disturbance, he mumbled, then walked quickly to his car. I got in my truck and drove home, to my new apartment. My phone rang before I'd even parked. Jennifer. What did you do to Owen? I had a conversation with him, very educational for both of us. He says you attacked him. He grabbed me first. I defended myself. There's a difference. This has to stop, Landon. We can work this out. No, we can't. You made that choice when you started working things out with Owen. 3 days later, Mrs. Patterson called to inform me that both Jennifer and Owen had been terminated for violating company policies. Not just the relationship. They'd been using company computers for personal communications, taking extended lunch breaks, and generally conducting themselves unprofessionally. Jennifer moved in with her sister across town. Owen apparently had moved back in with his parents. Both were unemployed and looking for work in a town where gossip traveled faster than social media. I felt no satisfaction, no victory, just the cold efficiency of a mission accomplished. But the mission wasn't over yet. 2 weeks later, Jennifer requested a meeting, not through lawyers, just her, calling my phone like we were still married. I want to talk, she said, face to face, no lawyers, no drama, just us. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory where neither of us held an advantage. She looked different, tired, defeated. The confident woman who'd been sneaking around behind my back had been replaced by someone who understood consequences. I made a mistake, she began. You made a series of choices, I corrected. Each one was deliberate. It wasn't supposed to happen. Owen and we were just friends, and then you decided to have an affair while I was working overseas to support our household. She flinched. I want to fix this. There's nothing to fix. We're getting divorced. You'll get half the house value, your personal belongings, and your car. I keep the business, the retirement accounts, and everything else I built while you were exploring your friendship with Owen. That's not fair. Fair would have been you asking for a divorce before you started sleeping with your coworker. This is just legal. She leaned forward, desperation creeping into her voice. I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I want you to sign the divorce papers and move on with your life. What about Owen? What about him? Are you going to keep ruining his life too? I almost laughed. Jennifer, I didn't ruin Owen's life. Owen ruined Owen's life. I just made sure everyone knew about it. She stood up abruptly. You're not the man I married. You're right. The man you married was naive enough to trust you. Consider this an upgrade. She walked out without another word. 3 days later, she signed the divorce papers. Owen tried one last desperate move. He showed up at my apartment complex on a Saturday morning, drunk and looking for a fight. I was washing my truck in the parking lot when he stumbled over. This is all your fault, he slurred. No, Owen, this is all your fault. I just made sure you faced the consequences. He swung at me. Clumsy, telegraphed, the kind of punch that gets you hurt in a real fight. I sidestepped easily and let his momentum carry him into the side of my truck. Walk away, I said, before this gets worse for you. Instead, he tried to grab me. This time, I didn't just defend myself. I put him on the ground and held him there until he stopped struggling. Listen carefully, I said. This ends now. You don't contact me. You don't contact Jennifer. You don't drive by my apartment or my workplace. You disappear from my life completely. Do you understand? He nodded frantically. I let him up and watched him stumble back to his car. As he drove away, I noticed Mrs. Henderson from apartment 3B watching from her window. She gave me a thumbs up. 6 months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Jennifer had moved to another state. Owen had found work at a pharmacy 2 hours away. Both had learned that actions have consequences, and some consequences last longer than others. I kept the house, rebuilt my savings, and focused on my security consulting business. Operation Cat's Claw was complete. Mission accomplished. The cats had landed on their feet, but their claws had left permanent marks.